Good morning, my science lovers, or evening or afternoon, wherever you are. You ready for some Saturday morning science? We're going to talk about love today. This crazy little thing called love. I just can't handle it. I got to be cool and relax. I got to get hip. And the great Freddie Mercury had it coined the best. I just can't handle it. I gotta be cool and relax. This crazy little thing called love. So I need to add some people to my video for my patrons on Patreon. Rhetoric and Discourse. Y'all are new. Mark Sykes in the derp state. Your approximate wait time is about 20 seconds. Oh, here we go. Okay. So, my camera's looking different now. So here we go. We got this. Let me see if I have this centered with the chat actually there. There you guys are. So, what's up, guys? How you doing? Let me move myself down a little bit and adjust. I don't know what it is about, oh, my camera's really, really low. That would be why you're seeing, and you can see my mic. That's something that you guys normally don't have in the shots, but there you go. It's weird. I don't know how it is that sometimes my settings are kind of funky and strange. But today we're talking about the science of love. All the things associated with love and this crazy little thing about it. How is it that we feel this way and do the things that we do? So we're going to be talking a lot about that, about love and how it makes us feel, and what if, there are people that can't actually feel love. And so we're going to talk a bit about that as well. So yay. Hello, everyone. So let's go ahead and get this thing started, with love. So love, what is it? What is love? Symptoms, risks, and treatments. I'm just kidding. We're not going to talk about any of those. What we are going to talk about is more of this. What is it? How do we feel it? Why does it hurt sometimes? And is it possible to not feel love? The hair looks fabulous. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I do try. I washed it. You know, that always helps with the fabulous hair, is to take the time and to wash it. And that would be my dog. So there you go. Oh goodness. So how are you guys doing today? What's up? What's up? What's up? So awesome. So this is kind of what I've compiled together. I'm kind of just, I've gone and I've checked out some different things. Harvard has a really great website on love and what it is and what it does and how it affects us. And it's a really easy, like kind of broken down type of thing. There's a whole lot of neuroscience associated with love. Give me some oxytocin. Yeah. Oxytocin is the thing, isn't it? So what is the breakdown? What are we looking at when we're talking about the breakdown of love? So here we go. Boom. Here we go. That's a bit better. So love in general, I'm going to slide y'all over here. There are 3 different categories that we kind of see when we're dealing with love. It is chemically based, and the reward neural pathways play a large role in the feelings that we feel when we're with somebody and when they're not with us anymore. It can absolutely shut off critical thinking. Who would have thought? Love makes you stupid. So it does. It can actually affect your ability to make good decisions. So congratulations to Mole. Okay, I'm trying to figure out what's going on. Hey, Nether. Hey, Andrew. Hey, Christine. Hey, Nana. Oh, you're 6 years clean. Well, congratulations. Here's another thing kind of associated with love. When you lose somebody that you've been in love with, you undergo a lot of feelings that are similar to that of withdrawal. Whenever you lose a person, you go through your own type of withdrawal. Love can also kill you. You can literally die of heartbreak. And in a way, love on an evolutionary aspect, when it comes to anthropological evolution, when we're dealing with people, it's kind of necessary for survival. So there's some evolution type of basis for this. Strength in numbers, so it's hard to go out there on your own. Take this with you. Love this person. And so love is actually conducive a bit for survival, so you're not alone out on the Serengeti hunting and gathering, so it's a lot easier to have another person in your life to help you kind of bear part of that responsibility for survival. So you tend to be attached to another person to where you can to where you feel like you'll want to do things to help another person. So there's a lot of care for others that and it's extremely important to love other people, so you can put their needs and consider their needs important as well. So love is necessary for survival, guys. Hello. Oh gosh, yes, my puppy Frodo, he's almost 2. He'll be 2 in October. So that's kind of fun, dealing with the doggo. And if you're curious about our relationships with dogs, you can check out my episode on dogs. I do have a ScientistMel short on that. So if you don't like watching the live streams, I am getting to where I'll be able to do more of those ScientistMel shorts, where it's the same content I have in my longer live streams, but condensed down to more bite-size, intake of science. So it's for people who love science but are short on time. ScientistMel shorts. So check those out. I have several on there for some of the more controversial topics like human sexuality. So do check that out. So what we're going to talk about a little bit when it comes to this crazy little thing called love. Let's first start with the 3 main basics, the 3 categories of love, as it were. Is it that one? No, it's this one. Here you go. So this particular image comes to us from Harvard. I'm going to slide you guys over here so you can see it a bit better. So these are the 3 different categories when it comes to love. And Harvard has a great website. I mentioned that before. These categories kind of give us an idea when it comes to the brain chemistry. We have lust, we have attraction, and then we have attachment. Now, the thing that drives our lust are our sexual hormones, our sex hormones, testosterone and estrogen. And those play a role in getting us to get some kind of sexual gratification. And then you have attraction. Dopamine, norepinephrine, and serotonin, those are all part of our, at least the dopamine is part of our reward neural pathway. And so, Bobby and his blanket love email, well, thank you. Where is the nightwear? Oh my goodness. You know, coincidentally, I am wearing my jammy pants. I'm not going to lie. Sometimes I do my show in my jammies. And, you know, I can because it's at my house. So, dopamine is part of our reward pathways in our brain. And so when we're attracted to somebody, we feel a bit of this high. And you're like, oh my goodness, you know, wow, I'm getting all the tinglies all over. And so the more we interact with this person, and whenever that person's gone, we're like, oh, we need that high again. And so that's kind of part of it there. So, and then our attachment, oxytocin and vasopressin. Attachment isn't just a romantic thing. We can be attached to our family. We can be attached to our friends. So oxytocin and vasopressin, these aid in our attachments of wanting to be with other people. So these are all exceedingly important. Oh, I'm checking up there. You love animals maybe more than people at times. Well, you know, animals are absolutely amazing. And I like animals too, you know, yay for the animals. Now, when we're talking about love, love is essentially rooted in our biochemistry of the brain and in our body. We feel lust from sex hormones and attraction through dopamine release and attachment through oxytocin and vasopressin. Our reward neural pathways give us a type of high when we are in a new relationship. We can even be stupid while in love, as lust and attraction shut off our prefrontal cortex. That's our place for critical thinking. So we can be completely stupid when we're in love with people. So it's when you're like, I have a hard time talking to the opposite sex. Well, if you, or, you know, or whoever you're same sex, whoever you're attracted to. So if you're attracted to a particular person, you might have a hard time talking to them. You might, you know, have a bit of anxiety associated with that. And there's a lot of reason for that because it shuts down our prefrontal cortex. We are not capable of thinking critically. And sometimes even saying words is quite difficult. You're like, words are hard, especially if you're attracted to somebody and you're just like, I have forgotten my name. Hi, how are you? You know, and then all of a sudden you're not able to actually speak or anything because you're just kind of like, I'm really dumb right now. So, old dopamine is a huge addiction. Oh, goodness. So, yeah, and when dopamine is gone, you're just like, you know, you feel and you undergo different types of withdrawal. So let's have a look at what this kind of looks like. Again, this is a pretty cool graphic, and I got this from the Harvard website. So I want to give credit where credit is due. Here we go. Oh, goodness. Okay, so here, let me move over this way. All right, so this is what we got. We have lust, attraction, attachment, and we have the parts of the brain that are affected by love. So when we're going through this, what we have in A on the lust portion. So testes and ovaries secrete the sex hormones that are known as testosterone and estrogen. This essentially is part of our sexual desire and it drives it. Now when we're looking at attraction and attachment, dopamine, oxytocin, and vasopressin are all made by the hypothalamus. Now, the hypothalamus is kind of buried inside of the brain, and that particular gland, the hypothalamus, that particular gland controls lots of different vital functions, including emotions. Now, when we're looking at the little prefrontal cortex here, we got our little brain image. Several of the different regions of the brain affect love. We have the prefrontal cortex, we have the hypothalamus, and we have the pituitary gland. Lust and attraction essentially shut off that prefrontal cortex, that front part of our brain that helps us think critically and also engage in rational behavior. So we may not act entirely rational while we're in love. You know, we can be like completely ridiculous and do stupid stuff because, you know, thank you, attraction and lust, for making us incredibly dumb. So, oh boy, goodness. Hi everyone, hello. Where does the one night stand fit in? That's what I want to know, because I can't commit anymore since being burned bad. One night stand tends to be around lust. You might actually get that type of high and that reward, that dopamine that goes off. So some people might be serial monogamists, or you might, you know, just be into the one night stands because you get that particular high. Maybe you had a really good one night stand, and that gave you like a really big high from that dopamine and that serotonin release. And you might be chasing the dragon a bit, trying to find that again, that high again. And so, what you can do with that, I mean, that might be where that fits in. Maybe you're not interested in the attachment portion of things because, you know, that you have anxiety and stress. I'm going to get into that as well. Lots of different anxiety and stress hormones can be released, especially when that dopamine goes away, and that oxytocin kind of drops a bit, and that vasopressin. You have all of these different interworkings of these hormones, and then you introduce cortisol, which is a stress hormone. You can have all kinds of anxiety and depression and even die from heartbreak. So the attraction is the dopamine. So if you got the lust and attraction going on with the one night stands, you're getting that release, that reward center. So let's see. Oh, Jasmine says, hey, I might be having my first kiss soon. Do y'all have any tips? I don't know about tips on that. Just enjoy it, you know, enjoy it. And hopefully it's not a bad kiss, you know, but you don't really know what you like until, you know, you give it a go. So good luck with that. So I'm trying to answer some questions as I get them. Opiates do kill pain and leave me in a state of slow horror. THC makes me chatty. Just don't know until I try. Ritalin made you suicidal, depressed. I'm sorry, Nether. That's where addiction comes in. Yeah, you can get addicted to your dopamine in a person. You actually can develop an addiction because of those reward pathways. Hello everyone. All right. The point is that I was prescribed an upper that did the opposite for me. I'm sorry. I've never had a bad kiss. Oh, well, Miss Shadow Kitty, that's great. I have, and those are not fun at all. You don't, oh my goodness. Okay. You guys are funny. So when we fall in love, the reward centers in our brain fire off and we feel amazing. We become a bit addicted to the person who is with us. We can experience horrible pain that when that person is no longer with us. We can go through withdrawal, much like an addiction. We can see where love manifests in the brain through things called brain scans. And there's been some studies done with brain scans involving couples who are in love. Now, I've got some of this information from Image LY, and I'll show you that particular source in a bit. There's something called a functional MRI, or fMRI. Now that particular technique is a neuroimaging technique that uses magnetic resonance imaging. So that's the MRI portion of the functional MRI. So magnetic resonance imaging. It can identify brain areas that are activated when there's a task or a process or an emotion. So we can actually see it in real time of different parts of the brain kind of firing off. Now in 2005, there was a scientist named Aaron, A-R-O-N. He and his colleagues scanned 17 volunteers who they categorized as intensely in love. And so to activate that love circuit that's within the brain, they showed these couples pictures of their significant other. Now, as a control task, they also showed them pictures of familiar individuals. Now, what they found is that photos of people that they romantically loved caused their brains to become active in various portions of the brain that are rich in dopamine. So that neurotransmitter is what we call the feel-good neurotransmitter. So those different portions of the brain that were activated, it's called the ventral tegmental area, also known as the VTA. That's the midbrain. So that's where we find the areas that are normally associated with our pleasure centers, focusing our attention. There's also that motivation to get rewards, to pursue rewards. So that's our main reward center of our brain. Now, the types of cells that produce dopamine are called A10. Now, their primary efferent fiber projections, when we're dealing with the ventral tegmental area, the VTA, that's the mesocortical and the mesolimbic pathways. Now, this particular reward type of center corresponds to the prefrontal cortex. That's where we're getting the shutting off of them thinking points. You know, we don't think so well when we're in love. Now, the caudate nucleus and the putamen, those are the two nuclei of the super deep brain. That's another area that lights up when people are in love, and they together form what's called the striatum. Okay? Now, another form of brain scanning that's used is resting state fMRI. Now, a scientist named Song, 2015, essentially used this particular type of brain scanning to depict brain's connectivity. So without the need to stimulate these particular subjects inside a scanner, so what they did, functional connectivity within the reward, motivation, and emotion regulation network, that's where we see that is the dorsal anterior and cingulate cortex insula, caudate nucleus, amygdala, and nucleus accumbens. Gosh, I say words wrong often. It's funny. Those particular areas were significantly increased amongst people and individuals who were in love when compared to just a bunch of volunteers who are single at the time. So what they did is they had these scans of people who were in love versus people who weren't in love, and they also the ones who weren't in love or single, they looked at those individuals who had also ended a romantic relationship to kind of see what was going on with that. So let me catch up a bit with the chat. Yes, our reward center can get screwed up quite easily, Nether. Oh my goodness. Some people are talking about snowing. Is that firing off the reward center in your brain? It's snowing! Snow angels. I can like put together snowman and snow lady couples, you know, or snowmen together, snow ladies together. So, you know, sometimes you got that. Ooh, a bad kiss. Does that say something about you, them, or the situation? I'm guessing it's more about you. I appreciate each kiss for what it is. Never had a bad kiss. Oh goodness. Well, Mark, I think people know what they like and they know what they don't like. So there's some types of kissing that I don't particularly enjoy. So I think that's kind of like, different people, different strokes for different folks. There's just some kind of kissing that I don't particularly care for. So I'm guessing non-sexual love biologically is very different. Yes, Nana, it is very different. That's where the oxytocin can kick in. Now, love is love, and while some would argue that there aren't different types of love. That love is the same because it affects the same areas of the brain, but you have sexual love and non-sexual love, yes, but love still fires off the same portions of the brain. So in that regard, it's not different, but you can have non-romantic love, meaning love of your friends, love of your family. That oxytocin is still there. When a mother connects with a baby, there you got oxytocin firing off. But so non-sexual love and sexual love still fires off the same things, but you have different hormones. You don't have this sexual drive from in that regard, like the lust and attraction. That's something different. But love is still a portion of that, can be the attachment with the oxytocin and vasopressin. So yes, you can have that. I'm just checking up on the chat, seeing if I can find any questions. People can be addicted to just about anything, particularly if it fires off the reward centers in the brain, like drinking certain foods, certain types of foods, like chocolate can fire off reward centers in the brain. So yeah, that addiction can certainly be there. I'm almost caught up on everybody's chat. I try to catch up a little bit here and there during the stream so I can see if there's any questions. Oh goodness, let's see. I think fMRI doesn't work on me and I don't have the brains to figure out why. Oh my goodness, Bo, I don't know. Let's see. I'm catching up. Could be simply that you don't adjust your blood flow as much as most people, so the signal is low. That's from microbloganism. I'd have to dig down a bit more to understand a bit more of the MRI and how that works. How do chemicals change in long-term relationships? That's a good question. So from what I found, you can, and this is kind of where the long-term love thing comes into play from what I've gathered and dug up into. The initial, like the honeymoon phase, so when you're past the honeymoon phase, you can, the 7-year itch, there was a whole film about that. The early feelings of that love and that rush and all that sort of thing, it's not meant to last. The whole evolutionary reason that we have the attraction and that feeling is to get our DNA put out for reproduction. So that's to initiate the beginnings of making babies. So, but that's the evolutionary aspect of that. But for the long-term relationship, for the long term of staying with somebody, that requires both individuals to have a larger understanding and a larger acceptance of what love is. So, for instance, if you married a person and that person isn't who you fell in love with, maybe they've changed over time. So in order to cope with that, because you don't have all of that initial reward system going off with the constant dopamine, with the lust and the attraction, all of that excitement with that high. You have the oxytocin and vasopressin kind of sticking around with the attachment of that person, so it can shift to non-sexual, and that's okay as long as all parties have the same idea of what love is. So it kind of grows into that. Yeah, I lust after males, Doctor Who swag in the background. Yes. Oh, the baby Groot. Yeah, that's my baby Groot standing on top of some VHS cassettes. So, in case you're wondering, do we use the word love to validate what we get from our prefrontal cortex? I don't know. Because we know love fires off, and as far as oxytocin, fires off in different parts of the brain, and we get that attachment. But lust and attraction shut down our decision making in the prefrontal cortex. So I'm not certain. That's a good philosophical question for us to think about. I have a love for food. No, I'm not talking about apple pies. Oh, and Bo said, but I did stay in an MRI for almost 2 hours at Herlev Hospital for a shoulder scan once. Thing couldn't focus properly and I agreed to be their guinea pig after the actual scan. Oh my goodness. I'm addicted to my work to the point where friends are often annoyed. I'm sorry. Skinner box. Addiction is built into gaming and so much more of our modern life. Does love for a pet cause release of oxytocin? Sure it does. You can have, we have a solid connection with dogs, and I talk a little bit like that, to where we get a positive feeling when we're close to dogs, and likewise they do the same thing for us. So we've kind of evolved together to a degree to have that kind of connection. So yeah, I have a friend who is addicted to reading. Reading's great. I have a friend who claimed to become sexually aroused by the smell of lavender and some other herbs. Is that a learned behavior, or can it be genetic and involuntary hormone response? It could be a learned behavior. I don't necessarily know of any genetics associated with smells, but certain smells, you can fire off lust and attraction based on certain smells. We know that from pheromones. So pheromones are pretty profound. And the use of them dates back early on. Slight sense of arousal of ladies. So I think one historical thing is ladies that worked in the sex industry early on. I think early in Europe, they would try to enhance their pheromone scent by kind of keeping some of it when they were aroused. So I believe that's possible. We probably do have a bit of that. There might be some genetics associated with that, but particularly for lavender, I think that might be learned. But and that's just coming off the fly and off the cuff from what I know. But there could be more to that. I can dig down and find out more. Oh goodness, I should check out Mastodon, social media outlet. It's an excellent Facebook replacement and no stupid ads, all volunteer operated. I will check it out. Mastodon.social. Okay. I'll see if I can find that. Now the What Is Love song is stuck in my head, except I imagine Arnold Schwarzenegger singing What Is Love. It's not a tumor. Oh my goodness, you guys are funny. I'm not against reading, it's just she can't balance it. She will miss days of work, barely eat, and not take care of herself well for around a week at a time. Yeah, that if your reading becomes hazardous to your health, then that's not good, Yeah, I would go with learned behavior, probably with particular scents that are not pheromone based. That would be kind of what I would think about in that regard. So let's take a look at what happens when dopamine fires off in our brains. Yep, like that. Huh. There we go. So we've got some gauges here. Too much dopamine, oxytocin versus ideal dopamine and oxytocin. You guys, again, this is from the Harvard website there. And I'll show you a link to that to where you can check out their stuff and kind of see what's going on with them. I'm so glad I finally got to do love because it's spring. Love is in the air, you know. And, you know, people get Twitter-pated in the springtime with the warm coming out. And people are like, wow, this is so nice. All right. So, dopamine, that pretty much runs the reward pathways in our brain. It's great in moderate doses. That it helps us enjoy food, exciting events, our relationships, but we can push the dopamine pathway too far when we become addicted to food or drugs or drugs. Similarly to that, too much dopamine in a relationship can give us underlying unhealthy emotional dependence on our partners, kind of a codependent type of situation. So there are certain healthy levels of oxytocin to help us bond with our significant others. We feel warm and fuzzy towards companions. The elevated oxytocin can also fuel prejudice. So it can contribute to jealousy. It can contribute to adultery. So if you have really, really high levels of oxytocin, that's really not helpful. It can lead to an irrational behavior. The same with too much dopamine. So you got to be careful with that. Love the people in your life, but don't love them to the point you're just like, it just... We have films about this. Fatal Attraction. That would be one. Where it goes way too far. Or the current series on Netflix called You, which I cannot watch yet. I can't. It feels a bit too real for me to sit through that. But there you go. So let's talk about symptoms of love. How do you know you're in love? What do you go through? Symptoms can range and are a bit of a spectrum. So when we're dealing with love, you can get sweaty, your heart can race, your eyes dilate, you feel butterflies in your stomach. A lot of this is to do with an increased amount of epinephrine and norepinephrine. Can also, when you feel like nauseated or sick to your stomach or nervous, that's also related to different hormones that are released in your body that restrict blood flow to your stomach. So you can feel that, I feel so nervous. I'll catch people's questions here in just a second, I promise. You can feel high from that release of dopamine. You can't think. Sometimes it can drive insomnia because of those elevated epinephrine and norepinephrine type of hormones that are going off. And if you have a high amount of cortisol, the stress hormone, that can fuel insomnia as well. You can become more sexually adventurous when you're in love. Again, stress hormone's pretty high, so in some regard, to where that might fuel some of anxiety and worry. So when your loved one isn't around, or the person that you're attracted to isn't around, you can kind of start to worry about them. And you might have a little bit of anxiety thinking about that. And there's some research that shows that parts of the brain can fire off that also fire off in regard to painkillers. So if you have chronic pain, being in love might actually help some of that. So that's kind of part of what the symptoms of love are, if that's something that you're thinking about. So let me catch up on some questions. This has been a pretty good talk so far. What was the Netflix series you mentioned? It's called You. It's where a guy stalks a girl online and tries to be the ideal mate and behaves in a certain way in order to draw her into him. That's a thing that actually does happen with people, particularly with online stalkers. No air supply. I mentioned pheromones. Okay, so Bo says, you mentioned pheromones. I've heard that we still rely unconsciously on pheromones to attract each other. Can you elaborate? Um, I, I don't know that we just rely heavily on pheromones. There are people who have a super sense of smell, and so since they have like a super sense of smell, super smellers, that in order to, for if maybe a smell, maybe, and so they might be turned off by certain smells, or they might be turned on by certain smells. And so with super smellers, I imagine pheromones play a huge role in arousal and attraction. And that can fire off, testosterone, estrogen, and drive a little bit of what we call lust, or the sexual attraction for that sexual gratification. Let's see, I know that smell plays a part in attraction and that it informs us about the other person's major histocompatibility complex. Possibly. So I'm trying to. I'm all out of love. I'm so lost without you. Is that Nana? N-A-N-A? Oh, goodness. You guys are funny. I had Freddie Mercury in my head earlier with Crazy Little Thing Called Love. Think of that song. That song's great. Oh, goodness. Let's see. And we are attracted more to people whose immune system is different from our own. Well, I'd have to check that out. Hello, Geek Room. Do butterflies qualify as labial flutter? What? Oh, goodness. I'm not certain how to answer that. It would be cool if we could exploit it better for diagnostic purposes, like dogs that can be trained to detect cancer in people. True. Hello, everyone. Hello. Oh, goodness. How does that work? Subconsciously, we detect it. Pheromones. Well, I think, it's interesting because our sense of smell is connected to a portion of our brain that's associated with memories. So if you talk about the learned behavior before, when somebody asked about there's another person who they're attracted to that scent of lavender, perhaps that's associated with a particularly racy memory, and so when they smell lavender, it takes them back to that particular memory to where they feel, kind of aroused by it. So that's a thing that can happen. Very smell oriented, and the sense of smell is strong with me. Oh, okay. So that's kind of like the Force, There's another great Netflix series with a love story involving a love addiction. All right. Thank you for the link, Bo, to that particular series. I don't think I can detect pheromones. I love a nice perfume, but short of that, I can't really detect, I think. That would be pretty interesting. I think you can purchase pheromones. So it would be kind of neat to do like a blind test to see, hey, which one do you like better? And then, see, maybe there's a particular pheromone that you associate with your own particular drive. Love is such a strange thing. So when you're dealing with it, when it leaves you, and it's upsetting when it leaves you, it can literally break your heart when a relationship ends. This is due to a high amount of stress hormones. The condition is called stress-induced cardiomyopathy. Now, it is a condition in which intense emotional or physical stress can cause rapid and severe heart muscle weakness. Now, the symptoms of stress cardiomyopathy are often similar to those of a heart attack. You have chest pain, shortness of breath, sweating, dizziness, nausea and vomiting, weakness, palpitations, so the sensation of just the heart pounding in your chest. So when we lose someone we love, we undergo withdrawal and stress hormones increase. We end up having feelings of anxiety. Our bodies and minds miss those highs we feel and that attachment with the other person. But what about people who cannot love? So what happens with them? Well, emotional deprivation disorder is a thing that exists. It was originally discovered by Dr. Anna Teruwe, and I think that's how I pronounce it. I'm not certain, but I might be pronouncing her name wrong, so I am sorry, Dr. Anna, if I am. So she originally discovered it in the 1950s and called it frustration neurosis. The Bars Institute has an amazing website, and they focus on this disorder. So this is what they say about the emotional deprivation disorder. A person could exhibit symptoms of an anxiety disorder or repressive disorder when these symptoms, in fact, were not the result of repression, but rather a result of a lack of unconditional love in early life. So emotional deprivation disorder is a syndrome, and it's a grouping of symptoms which result from a lack of authentic affirmation and emotional strengthening by another person. A person may have been criticized, ignored, abandoned, neglected, abused, or emotionally rejected by primary caregivers early in their life. This resulted in the person's arrested emotional development. That's not just Arrested Development, the show, but arrested emotional development. So just like children, unaffirmed persons are incapable on their own of developing into emotionally mature adults until they receive this authentic affirmation from another person. However, while unaffirmed persons cannot affirm themselves, there's much they can do to help themselves. They reach maturity when there is a harmonious integration between a person's intellect, will, and emotions, and under the guidance of their reason and will. So they have to have that guidance of their reason and will to help them reach that harmonious integration between their intellect, will, and emotions. That's how they kind of overcome that. So there are symptoms associated with this. Emotional abuse is just as bad as physical abuse. Yes, it is. And I think, so I'm catching up a bit on the chat. So I think a lot of people, they tend to think, oh, it's just all in your head. Well, if you were emotionally abused as a child, that can affect you in your adult life to where you don't actually emotionally mature. Particularly if unconditional love in your early development was held from you, that can be extremely damaging in your ability to form healthy and loving relationships. So let me see. I smell all the time. Oh, wait, never mind. Oh, Bo, you're funny. After being a nurse's aide in a nursing home years ago, I can actually tell by smell if someone is dying. Wow. Yeah, I imagine they might release certain scents associated with that. I tend to be attracted to a person set without colognes or perfumes, their smell, if that makes sense. It does make sense, #Ethan. I'm sorry if you think your sense of smell is failing, Nana. That stinks. Well, that stinks. I did not mean that to be funny, and it actually came out funny. All right. Losing your sense of smell stinks. Gosh. Oh my goodness. Hello everyone. Stinky cheese. And so I'm going through. Send a link to a study on the MHC and smell thing on Discord. Sweet. Thank you. Due to abuse from my narcissistic mother, I have very stunted emotional issues. Working on getting better through therapy, though. Well, I'm proud of you, #Heathen. You stay at it, and you do what you need to do to get to where you got to be. I mean, that's just how it is. So keep at it. You will get there. It's just going to take some time. So, what are the different symptoms associated with emotional deprivation disorder? Well, they have an insufficiently developed emotional life. They have an abnormal rapport. They're incapable of establishing normal, mature interaction with others. They feel lonely and uncomfortable in social settings. They're capable of a willed rapport, but not an emotional connection in relationships. So they'll force a rapport just by the sheer force of their will, but they don't really have an emotional connection. They're very egocentric. They have a childhood level of emotional development. It feels like a child or infant. They actually feel like a child or infant and expect others to focus their attention on them. just as an adult would focus on a young child. They're incapable of emotional surrender or even giving to a spouse. Now, their reactions around others. They can be fearful by nature or courageous and energetic. They're more fearful people. The more fearful people, gosh, it's hard to say that, tend to become discouraged or depressed. They're more courageous and the more courageous and energetic persons, they can become more aggressive or self-affirming. When it comes to this, I can't help but think, love is just a really, really, really strange thing. And there's so many different things that are involved with it, and so much of it overlaps to where you can experience like the stress hormones and the anxiety, and even have a bit of depression. And you feel it all over your body when you lose somebody. And when you gain somebody in your life and you fall in love, you feel it all over. Yes, hit the thumbs up. And is it somehow connected to asexuality? Let me go back and look at the original comment. Okay. So asexuality, you can still fall in love with somebody romantically and not have any interest in sex. So that could be an asexual romantic person, to where you need that connection with another person and that another connection with a human being. I mean, there is a survival basis that we see in our evolutionary history of being with another person that can share the load of surviving in this world with them. So that could be a thing. Words are hard. Words are very unnecessary. They can only do harm, says the great Depeche Mode. Hello, Orla. Hello, everyone. What is love, baby? Don't hurt me. Don't hurt me no more. Oh my goodness. I like Freddie Mercury's take on it. This thing called love, I just can't handle it. This thing called love, I must get around to it. I ain't ready. This crazy little thing called love. It cries like a baby in a cradle all night. It swings, it jives, it shakes all over like a jellyfish. I kind of like it, this crazy little thing called love. There goes my baby. She knows how to rock and roll. She drives me crazy. Love does that. It can make you not think. We already discussed this. It gives me a hot, cold fever and leaves me in a cool, cool sweat. That's all of those stress hormones kind of kicking in, and you're like, what in the heck is going on? So you got to be cool and relax. Get help and get on my tracks. Take a back seat, hitchhike, take a long ride on my motorbike until I'm ready. This crazy little thing called love. Crazy little thing called love. Oh my goodness. It's hard to explain the scent of death. It's different than the smell of sickness. Can't compare it to anything really. It's just different. Well, way. Do jellyfish swing a lot? Wait, I guess so. They swing all over like a jellyfish, they just kind of, maybe that's what it feels like in your brain. It just feels like, like a jellyfish kind of doing this on your head. I don't know, maybe like the little tingles. You ever have one of the things on your head that kind of shakes, and it's like the little metal things on the top, and you push it and it vibrates, those little, I think it's called a ting-ting or something like that. It just, that to me kind of feels like all over for me when I'm in love. So that's just that initial woo. But can that last? So I'm going to show you, I have actually a lot of sources that I checked out. So check this out. The Bars Institute. This is a really, really, really good website. Emotional deprivation disorder. This is what we just talked about. Here, the hopkinsmedicine.org/Heart Vascular Institute. This goes on with cardiomyopathy, the symptoms and all the things associated with it, and the stress hormones. I think that's Imagilys, IMAGILYS.com. I got some information from them on different studies on how they image brains when in love. CNN had an interesting thing, Your Body on Love. I just kind of pulled a little bit from that. It's kind of interesting. Wired has another one called What is Love, for those of you who have that song stuck in your head. I really liked the Harvard website. Their neuro department, they talk a little bit, they have a series on love and the brain. They also have what the hormones are associated with lust and attraction. And then NIMH from nih.gov. They have a whole website just on the different neurotransmitters and what in depth that they do when a person is in love. Let me see if I can get this back over here. Oh, goodness. Guess what song is in my head now? You're welcome. I gotta be cool, relax, get hip, get all my tracks, take a back seat, hitchhike, take a long ride on my motorbike until I'm ready. Crazy little thing called love. I like that song. I lost my sense of smell from a head injury when I was hit by a Bronco 11 years old. I'm sorry. Vibrantly Brantley. I was not wearing my helmet. I have complete bilateral hyposmia, but I can still taste perfectly. Well, that's good. Well, I believe you, Vibrantly Brantley. So, that's completely fine. I believe you. I am not related to anything. I'm an artificial organism. Oh my goodness. But there you go. So I'm going to show you where you can find me. You don't already know. I think you probably do. This is where you can find me. I have my own website. Guess what, guys? I'm going to create a new storefront on there because I have been inspired by not nice people on the internet to make t-shirts showing the horrible things that they say. And if you're blocked by those people, you can say trans rights are human rights, blocked by SJ. Or you can have, I was blocked by SJ because I follow ScientistMel. And all of the proceeds are going to go to various organizations, including the Anxiety and Depression Organization. I'm going to send money over to various activist groups that are advocates for LGBTQIA individuals. And so I thought I would go ahead and start getting ideas for t-shirts for these different things. So I'm going to put up a new storefront on ScientistMel.com to where you can go pick out a t-shirt. I've been blocked by PETA, so I thought it'd be nice to have a t-shirt that says blocked by PETA and have the proceeds go to the World Wildlife Foundation, who actually does things to help animals. So all of these different things I'm trying to do to not only raise awareness about important things, but also give back and help those organizations who are on the front lines of science, research, activism, and just trying to make the world not only a better place for humans, but also for animals. So, climate change is real. Fund some money over to NOAA and NASA, because NASA and NOAA are forefronts in climate change science, because, it's freaking NASA and freaking NOAA. So, I think I'm working on that now. I'm working with Gonna Go For It. He does a lot of my designs for the stuff that I do. And so I'm working on that. And then we're going to set that up as soon as possible to where you guys can say, hey, this is what I think about this thing. And the proceeds from this t-shirt went to Anxiety and Depression Association of America. So I figured I would take the mean things that people do on the internet, slap that on a t-shirt, and have all the money go towards organizations that they wouldn't approve of. The ones that are doing good things in the world. So, mean people suck, but let's take that meanness and that awfulness and turn it into something positive and helpful. So that's me. People are not against you, people are for themselves. Oh my goodness. So yes, if you have any fan art or if you have any suggestions, I'm willing to accept that stuff and put it together and throw it on a t-shirt. Let's raise some money for some good people that are doing good work, who are boosting awareness and literacy. Because, science has fingers and hands in all kinds of human issues. And we're about saving animals. We're about climate science. We're about learning more about people and how we can help people have a better life. Why not focus on that? Take all this meanness and turn it into something profitable and helpful. Not so much profitable, but something helpful towards these different organizations that do good work trying to make the world a better place for everyone. So why not do that? So that's kind of what I do. So if you have ideas, hit me up on ScientistMel.com. If you like what I do, I rely heavily on my patrons, and it is just me. It's literally just me who does all of this. I rely heavily on the kindness of others. My patrons fund my website, my stuff here. They help me get this new mic here. I take everything that they want to talk about. Automatically, I do a show just for them. They currently have the only access to all of my new audio podcast series. Hashtag Hey ScientistMel. They get their own RSS feed. Speaking of which, I need to update with some new episodes because unfortunately I haven't been able to update my website with the new podcast episodes. So my patrons have exclusive access to my audio podcast, which is my live streams that they can take with them and listen to anytime they want, so it doesn't eat up on all of their bandwidth. So if you can throw a couple bucks my way every once in a while, that's helpful. You can paypal.me/ScientistMel. You can do a super chat, or you can be a regular patron. But they mean the world to me because they help me do what I do. I'm on YouTube. Like, share, and subscribe. I also have a Facebook page. So you guys are the main reason why I do this, to try to boost scientific literacy and allow people a place to go and learn without feeling like they're being talked down to, because I don't want that. I don't want anybody to feel like I'm belittling them for being here and learning. So that's extremely important. No, it's just going to use the NOAA, National Oceanic and Atmospheric Association. Oh my goodness. Oh goodness. I'm not sure I'd want to where I've been blocked by PETA. Heck yeah, sure. It doesn't send the best signal. Fair enough. There's going to be lots of different styles. So if there's a particular style that you like, hit me up on Twitter and, send me a message on my website. You can also send me an email. So I see the NOAA ships off the coast here. They are quite impressive. Yes, they are floating labs. I want to be a NASA shill. Fantastic. I have one shirt I'm working on. The Earth ain't flat, but your butt is. Autism causes vaccines, not the other way around. Autism causes vaccines, maybe. Hey, Derp State. One of my newest patron is Derp State. Thank you for being here. And I am updating my patron video this weekend for all the new patrons that I've got. Thank you so much for that. So Derp State is new, Mark Sykes is new, and so is Rhetoric and Discourse. So I'm going to add you guys on the video. But until I do, I'm going to give you guys a shout out so you guys know. Do I have a post office box? I do. And so if you're interested in sending me something, just message me and I will send you my post office box. Okay, where can I submit a topic for an episode? You can DM me on Twitter. You can put a topic in the comments that you're interested in. Hashtag Hey ScientistMel, or use my hashtag The Science Of, and that'll be easy. You can try my Discord as well. You can put stuff there. Cinnamon rolls, man, cinnamon rolls are the bomb. Yay, to help spread facts about life. Yeah, we need actual facts. Oh my goodness, you guys are funny. Yeah. So, let me see. So what have we talked about today? We've talked about a lot of different things. Let me see. So essentially what we talked about, we've talked about love, what it is, how it happens, where we feel it all over our bodies. We've just, kind of broken down all of that. It has 3 different categories and they overlap: oxytocin, vasopressin, dopamine, our sex hormones. These all play a role and we can feel it all over our body, this love. So it's something that it's seems so easy to explain, but it's an extremely complicated thing. We can suffer withdrawal when we lose someone we love, and we can feel stress. Stress hormones increase, that anxiety and that depression that can be associated with loss. We can undergo withdrawal symptoms not unlike that of addiction. So that's kind of what we've done with breaking down with what love is and how we feel about it. So this has been the science of love. Now next Saturday, the topic that one was junk food addiction. How quaint. We've talked about love addiction. Now we're going to talk about junk food addiction next Saturday. So that's pretty freaking amazing that it just kind of worked out that way. So I'm going to end. Hold on. I got a book for you guys. So usually I end with Mr. Rogers. All right. But this is going to be, I normally say you always make each day special for me. You know how? By just your being you, which is still true. But I am going to read a quote, Understanding Love, from Mr. Rogers. Understanding love is one of the hardest things in the world. Love isn't a perfect state of caring. It is an active noun-like struggle. To love someone is to strive to accept that person exactly the way he or she is, right here and now. Thus saith the great Mr. Rogers, from his book, The World According to Mr. Rogers, Important Things to Remember. So, thank you for being here, and I will see you guys next Thursday. I'm going to be talking about on This Week in BS, bees and pesticides, with, I can't remember her name right now, but I'm going to set it up. So be certain to click to set a reminder for This Week in BS. We're going to talk about bees and pesticides with a lady who loves the insects, who's got her own YouTube channel where she talks about insects and that sort of thing. So that's pretty cool. So yay! And next Saturday, junk food addiction. And I will post a new poll on what the next topic will be. So please do like, share, subscribe, retweet the heck out of the poll, and let's talk science next Saturday. So I will see you guys next time. So enjoy this video from my patrons, and then we are going to sign out. See you guys later. Thanks for being here. Sending squishy, loving science hugs.